You'd be lying to yourself if you said you haven't felt it. Felt the specific, slightly shameful heat when someone that you know, someone you are friends with, gets the thing that you have been hunting for. Maybe it's the promotion, maybe it's the relationship, maybe the recognition, or even just the life that looks exactly like the one that you were supposed to be building this whole time. You may have called it something else, motivation or inspiration or just a reason for you to keep striving. Or you potentially suppressed it entirely and told yourself you were happy for them. You've been reading this emotion wrong. You haven't been reading it correctly at all. Because envy has been treated as a sin for so long that most people never stop to ask what it actually is doing. Every single major religion lists it off and tells you to avoid it. Every self-help framework tells you to replace it with gratitude or abundance thinking or celebration of others. The message, universally, is that envy is something to completely get rid of in your life. However, Soren Kierkegaard, one of the best writers in Western philosophy, thought that was a catastrophic mistake for people to write it off. Kierkegaard saw envy as the signal that it arrives basically when you are in the presence of something that you recognize as genuinely yours, something that you deserve, something that belongs to the life you were supposed to be living in, sitting inside someone else's life instead. The heat, however, is not the moral failure. The envy is not the moral failure there. Instead, it's information for you to follow and act upon. It is the self briefly telling you and uncomfortably telling you the truth about what it actually wants from your life, what it actually demands you to build towards before the rationalization sets in, before the rational machinery in your brain tells you that you don't actually want it. It explains to you the reasons why you don't deserve it anyway. The person you envy is not the enemy you are chasing. Instead, they are, in Kierkegaard's framing, a mirror. And the question the mirror is asking is why you yourself are not there yet. Now, another very influential philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, took it somewhere a bit darker, yet a bit more precise at the same time. He distinguished between two different kinds of envy. The first kind he considered healthy, right? It's the envy that says, I want what they have, and I'm going to work my hardest to build towards it. He uses the feeling as a fuel, that part of envy, right? It looks at the mirror and starts moving towards it. The second kind, however, Friedrich Nietzsche considered as one of the most destructive forces available to a human being, right? He called it resentiment. He called it's this French word basically for a specific kind of festering, inward turning resentment that no one can actually admit what it actually wants or what it is chasing towards. It tears down basically everything it cannot reach rather than reaching for it. It reframes your desires as contempt, so the failure to act never actually has to be acknowledged. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this resentiment pretty much everywhere around him. It's in the person who dismisses the successful as a sellout, the person who calls their ambition of someone else shallow after failing to act on their own. In every single instance of a genuine desire being quietly converted into moral obligation against the person who fulfills it. The conversion may feel like a principle, but I'm here to tell you that it is not. It is resentiment, right? So the part that is actually worth sitting with, I guess it correlates between both philosophers, is the fact that next time you feel that heat, that slight shame even, or the impulse to immediately perform happiness for someone else's win, do not suppress it, do not hide it or put it away. Don't explain it or tell it to move away to anyone, including yourself. Don't reach for the gratitude practice or the management tools to get rid of that envy, right? Ask the envy, what are you pointing at? Ask it what it specifically is looking for in you, and not that you envy success in general, but what exact thing does that person have that is producing this feeling in which you don't have? Maybe it's their creative freedom, because you could look at anyone successful and say you want to be as successful as them, but could you look at some specific part of their success that you want, that you need? Like I said, it could be their creative agency. It could be the relationship that they have with just their mother or just their father or partner. Not just in general, but maybe just the audience that they have, the specific niche they've tied themselves down to. Maybe it's just the conviction that what they are doing actually matters, and maybe that is all you are envying, not the whole picture. It can be as simple as the specific and granular thing that your body recognizes far before your mind has time to manage the response, right? Because that exact thing is information about you as a person, not just about their success. It is about what you yourself genuinely want underneath the life that you have been telling yourself that you want. It's about the gap between the direction you are moving towards and the direction that the feeling keeps pointing to. Because if something is continually telling you over and over that you must get it and you feel upset that you do not have it, why would you not figure out what that thing is and then get it? Kierkegaard would say to you that that gap is pretty much the only place where genuine selfhood begins. In the honest reckoning with what you actually want, rather than what you've settled for wanting from other people's lives, or even from your own. Friedrich Nietzsche would say that the only question is whether you use the envy or let it curdle into the other thing, into the resentiment, which is again one of the most destructive forces in humanity. The other thing is a lot easier for most people to settle with. It requires pretty much nothing, if anything, from you. All it does is convert the desire you have for something someone else has into a verdict and allows you to pretty much let yourself entirely off the hook. So the honest version is harder, but would you rather lead 10 years of a simple life for 50 years of suffering, or 10 years of struggling and pain to achieve 50 years of freedom? I think the answer is pretty clear, but either side requires you to admit exactly what you want and then start to do something about it.